five steps to become a leader in your organization. So today we have Derek Gaunt, which is the author of People, Authority, Faith, and his newest book, Five Less with More. It's a training with 29 years of law enforcement experience and 20 of these as a team member, leader, and commander of hostage negotiation. Uh, he has a member of the Black Swan Group. He's a negotiation trainer and personal coach. Derek has trained through the US and around the world, instructing business organization on how to apply hostage negotiation to practice and principles to the work. But Derek, tell us, what are the five steps to enhance leadership in your organization?
Welcome to Entrepreneurs Are Leaders podcast with Harry Sardinas. Interviews with world's most influential entrepreneurs that share tips about how to grow your business exponentially. Charismatic speaking, leadership, branding, marketing strategies designed to help you monetize your knowledge, find true happiness, and manifest your goals and dreams.
All right, so 5 steps according to me. These are not the way. This is just a way that you may want to change the way you think about how you become a leader within your own organization. Number 1, adopt the mentality that it's not about you. Put your goal and objective on the back burner and let's focus on the other side. As a leader, we've got critical thinking ability. We got problem solving ability. So we want to critically think and problem solve most of the day. And that usually leads to us running roughshod over our direct reports, over the people that work with us. And so adopting that mentality of it's not about you, it's about them will force you to look at the lay of the land from their perspective before sharing what your goal and objective, idea, suggestion, proposal is. Number 2, as a leader within any organization, because you are a leader, you are a threat. I'll say that again. This is very important. Because you are a leader, you are a threat to anybody that is subordinate to you in the hierarchy. You may be the nicest person in the world, but Harry, if you're my boss, the minute that you darken my doorway, the minute that you pick up the phone and call me, the minute that you, stop me in the hall and say, hey, do you have a few minutes to talk? You put me in a defensive posture. Because historically, direct reports have always been judged by the people above them. And no one likes to be judged. And so before you even open your mouth, I am in a defensive state. And it's incumbent upon you to remove that defensive state from me as fast as possible. Because as long as I view you as a threat on whatever level, meaningful dialogue is not going to take place between you and I. The third thing is curiosity. In every sensitive conversation, and a conversation is sensitive when I want or I need is in your head. That makes it a sensitive conversation. In every sensitive conversation, there's going to be a presenting dynamic or emotion coming from the other person, and then there's going to be a latent dynamic or emotion associated with that. So we're talking verbal, nonverbal. The verbal is the presenting, the nonverbal is the latent. You need to be curious. I don't care how much you have prepared for this sensitive conversation. There are things that are going on with your counterpart that you have no clue about. You are missing significant pieces of the puzzle. And so carry yourself like that. Be curious. Assume that you have something to learn in the conversation because you do. And the minute that you start to articulate things for me that I cannot articulate for myself, or I will not articulate for myself, there is no clearer way for you to send the message to me that you are dialed in, that you understand what my perspective is, because you're now articulating things for me that I'm having trouble articulating for myself. And so curiosity is huge. Go into every conversation assuming you have something to learn because you do. The fourth thing is inclusion. As a boss, as a manager, as a leader, you're going to have to share things with colleagues. You're going to have to share things with direct reports. You're going to have to share things with people that supervise you, things that they're not going to want to hear. You're going to have them move in the direction that is going to cause work for them, or that they don't necessarily agree with. Before you start to tell them what their marching orders are going to be, find out from them. How do you think this is going? What's your vision on how we can improve this? Now, if you're the leader in the organization, you may have already made up your mind which way you're going to go. That's fine. But the more important thing is to make the people that you work with and that work for you feel like they have some say. And so I may, as your boss, your leader, your manager, I may say to you, I want to sit down and talk to you about X, Y, and Z. Before we get started, though, Harry, you probably have a pretty good vision as to what we're going to look like in the next 6, 12, 18 months. Would you be opposed to walking me through that vision, what you've been thinking about? Now, what have I done by saying that is I've said, I've got an agenda, but I'm letting you go first. How often in their lifetime does that ever happen? I've got an agenda. I want you to go first. Normally, we want to go into the room and we want to throw all of our data and information on the table and say, here is why we're doing X. And because they want to stay employed, most of the people are going to pull in that direction. Doesn't mean that they're doing it willingly. It doesn't mean that given the opportunity to make you feel the pain that they are now feeling, they're going to make you feel it. Doesn't do anything for that. So it's important to demonstrate inclusion by getting them to go first. And who knows? I may come in and start that conversation with you, and you come up with ideas that I've never thought of. Now that changes my entire game plan. And the most important thing, it bears repeating, is that it's the overture that counts. Truth be told, unless it's compelling, if I'm the boss and I've already made up my mind, I'm moving this in that direction, what you would have to give me would have to be so compelling to move me off of my goal and objective that it would be silly for me not to. However, I'm not expecting that. This is an altruistic move on the part of leadership to tell our direct reports, you're important, your ideas are important, I want to hear from you. And as I said, I may still go in the direction that I wanted to go, but now, because I gave them an opportunity for input, I'm creating an environment of people that are willing to do it versus feeling like they have to do it. And then the final thing, before you ask anything of anybody, prep them for the ask. I don't care if it's something as innocuous as, Harry, I want you to help me move that water cooler from this side of the office to this side of the office. It can be something as small as that. The minute that I ask that of you, I'm putting you in a negative state. Why? Because I'm changing your status quo. And no one wants their status quo changed unless they change it themselves. And it may seem like a very minor ask, but what I've done is I've put work on your plate that did not exist 30 seconds ago. And on some level, you're going to be defensive at that. And so small ask, big ask, it doesn't matter. Prep the other side for the ask before you make it. And by prepping it, this is probably the last thing you're going to want to do. You're probably going to want to reach through this screen and stab me in the eye with an ink pen. Now, when I say those two things to you, now you're curious. Now you're like, what could this guy possibly say to me that would make me want to stab him in the eye with an ink pen? It would have to be pretty bad. And you start to formulate what that is in your brain. And then I hit you with the ask. Will you help me move the water cooler from point A to point B? And psychologically, what that has done for you, you're so relieved that that's all I wanted. You're over there picking up the water cooler by yourself and moving it. And so those are the 5 things I think if most leaders would keep top of mind within their organizations in an instance, and you start doing that tonight, your organization starts running more proficiently in the morning.
Oh, Derek, what a perfect class in leadership. I agree with you 100%, right? It's all about enrolling the team. It's all about enrolling everyone in your idea, in the people from the top as well.
Yep.
So my question to you is this one. Where did you learn this? leaders are born or are created, because you are speaking like the same language that the greatest leaders that I interviewed this podcast. So I would like to know how you learn on this, how you come out with all this conclusion. Who told you?
Uh, it's just being a student of the game. And the game that I'm talking about is interpersonal communication. I wasn't born interested in interpersonal communication. This is something that developed over the years. But once I discovered it as a true interest of mine, it was total immersion. So anything that had to do with interpersonal communication skills, I was all I was all on board with. I was studying and reading as much as I could. Um, Now, part of this started when I got hired as a police officer. It was back during the time where the crack cocaine epidemic was huge, and I became a part of a street level narcotics enforcement unit. And I quickly learned that I could say specific things in a specific manner to elicit specific information from another person, and then to use that information to influence them into doing what I needed them to do. In the narcotics game, it was, I need you, number one, to confess to your crime, and number two, who are you supplying? Number three, who supplies you? And most of the guys, and they were mostly guys, there were some women, but most of them initially say, I'm not telling you any of that. And then by the end of our discussion, they're telling me who the source is in Philadelphia, the next load that's coming down, and blah, 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 blah. And so it's just, and once I saw that, it was like seeing a unicorn for the first time. And so I just wanted more, 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 more. And then I found out about this thing called hostage negotiation. And I was like, whoa, what's that? And um, it took what I was learning as far as interview and interrogation was concerned, and it kicked it up another level. And I became a hostage negotiator in 1997, and that's when it started in earnest. I never looked back. I just wanted to learn as much as I could about the human brain, human emotion, human behavior.
So that is key. The more you practice, the better you become. So nobody was born to be a leader. We talk a lot about Martin Luther King, how everybody show up without no internet. Uh, I have a dream speech, but he from the very beginning and becoming a leader. Now, one difference is leadership in business, and the other things are leadership when life are at stake.
Mhm.
And when politics comes, and when you have to deal with the pressure of dealing with the negotiation when life are at stake, and at the same time, the politician that doesn't have any clue about anything wants to tell the people, you should do this, and then somebody comes from an organization, you should do this, and the only qualified person that understands what's going on in the psychology of whoever is this is you. So how you handle this external pressure in life at stake? Because this is not a business. This is completely, if you make a mistake, people die. Yeah.
Yeah, well, here's the other thing is I hear that a lot. People say that, all right, in your old world, people make a mistake, people die. But in my world, lives aren't at stake. And I say, yeah, that's true, but livelihoods are. And your amygdala lights up the same way as if you were being chased by a bear as it would if you were in a tough conversation. Your amygdala initially can't tell the difference. And so, what does that mean? That means even though lives are not on the line, the skills are applicable because it's not predicated on what the stakes are. It's predicated on understanding that human nature response, which is negative emotions, negative dynamics drive decision making, drive behavior, full stop. And once you get your head around that, you put yourself at a distinct advantage because the people that you work with, the people that work for you, they now become more predictable because of your understanding of that human nature response. Now, I understand it, and outside influences may not, but that's the way of the world. Not everybody knows how to communicate effectively. Not everybody knows the methodology behind tactical empathy. And so it's just a matter of working in that environment and educating where I can.
My point there is like it's 100 times more difficult to communicate effectively in a life and death situation, hostage situation, that in the organizations and in the companies out there. So uh, should be well. I think that the skill set requires to deal in a hostage situations are way more advanced that we actually need in order to run businesses and communicate effectively because at the end of the day, you can learn by doing more and more the business till you get skill, but in the negotiation, you have to be more precise, effective, so people can
Well,
direct.
here's the thing is, yeah, you're talking about stakes again. Without question, the stakes are higher in the law enforcement world. But make no mistake about it, if there's something that you are if you're in a conversation with somebody, and at the end of that conversation, that you stand to walk out of that conversation with something less than what you have right now, those same negative emotions and dynamics are spiking up in you. We do, we haven't done it in a while. I used to do a game called the Ultimatum game, where I would take $10 of my money and I would split the room in half between proposer and acceptor. And I said, proposer, you're in control of the money. You can split it with the acceptor any amount you want, but you only get to keep the money if the acceptor accepts your split. And without question, without fail, every single time that we do it, we have people splitting that $10 based on how they feel. Everything we do is based on how we feel. Whether it's a hostage negotiation or a merger and acquisition, everything we do, everything we say is based on how we feel. And so it doesn't matter what the stakes are. I'm going to repeat that until I'm blue in the face. If I want or I need is in your or is in the head of your counterpart, there are going to be negative emotions and dynamics associated with it. If the negative emotions and dynamics associated with it are not addressed in the conversation by either side, the conversation's going nowhere. And so I see what you're saying. Yeah, the stakes are higher, but the fear of loss is the single biggest driver of human decision making and behavior. And that loss means in the law enforcement world or in the entrepreneurial or corporate world.
Let's talk about ego and your book because Derek, if we have when you start a business, okay, at the beginning, entrepreneurs, we all have ego because we think that we can do better. Otherwise, we won't be entrepreneurs. So, however, if we start this behavior and everybody have to do whatever I say, they become exhausted, they become tired, and it creates a very toxic culture in the organization. You wrote something about ego, right? And I, as a leader, it's more about surrender that ego and work with everyone. So again, where do you learn that if you're in a negotiation, you cannot right there and say, look, I'm the boss here and everybody has to do what I say, and that's the end of it. I want to, and even you were in law enforcement, so they should follow orders, right? But how you make that work in an environment that everybody has to do what you say because you're the leader and everybody has to follow orders. On the same time, that is in terms of leadership counterproductive, and it doesn't work when there is someone telling everybody what to do and no one is enrolled, which is you pointed out before, actually, to include everyone in the conversation.
All right. So think about it like this. Yes, you are the boss. Yes, the buck stops with you. Yes, when you say go, they're supposed to go. I get all that. You've got all the leverage, all the power in the world. If you say go now, they're supposed to go now. I get it. The problem with that mentality is that many leaders operate like that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the reality is of all of the decisions that you make during the day, less than 10% of them are important, where you have to say because I said so, and only 1% of those is urgent. So that means that 90% of the time you're carrying yourself in a manner that you don't need to carry yourself. I had all of the leverage and the power in the world in a hostage situation. I could negatively impact the bad guy's environment anytime I wanted.
100%, 100%, you have 100%.
But I never carried myself like that. I never stood up in front of him and flexed my muscles and said, because I said so, you come out of that. It never happened like that, although I could have. And why? Because he's not in a collaborative state. Go back to what I talked about when we first started talking. You have to remove yourself as a threat in the conversation. If I'm imposing my will, what am I doing to remove myself as a threat? Nothing. Now, there are times that you're going to have to say, move and move now. But the times that you have to say that are few and far between. We have enough time to slow things down. There's no reason for us to rush into decision making, rush into resolution, rush into problem solving when we can take our time and see the entire spectrum as opposed to tunnel vision on one single problem. So ego, to your point, is not 100% evil. In a large part, ego got you to where you are today. That doesn't mean that you have to leave negative feelings and bodies in your wake as a result of it. And again, people are more willing to come along with you if you've provided them with some level of understanding that you get what the impact is going to be on them. And you can articulate that. Because as I mentioned, fear is the single biggest driver of human decision making, but the mother of fear is uncertainty. We are all frightened to death of things that we are uncertain about, that are unknown. Once we know it, it takes some of the mystique away. Think about it like this. It's going to the doctor to get a vaccination. What does the lab tech always tell you right before they stick you in the arm? You're going to feel a little pinch. This is going to hurt a lot. And then they do it and you're like, it wasn't so bad. Because why? You had a chance to brace yourself for the bad news. You had a chance to take some of the uncertainty out of the needle stick. And so it's a matter of giving them an opportunity to brace themselves, to pull back that curtain so that they can see that there's nothing back there that they need to be afraid of, because that's what drives fear more than anything else, the uncertainty of it. So take as much of the uncertainty out of the conversation as you can.
So yes, we have friends right now, and they are medium-sized organization, and they are 100% in that mentality. Look what I say, and the because here, everybody have to do what I say. Things are not moving. You arrive to the company and you see the smell of the toxic environment as soon as you arrive. So what's your message and how can you help those individuals to understand? And by the way, they will tell you, you don't understand, my business is different.
Oh yeah,
This one everybody have to do what I say.
Yeah, I know. Everybody that comes to us for training or comes to our seminars there's always somebody in the crowd that throws up why it won't work in their fill in the blank. It won't work in their industry. It won't work in their country. It won't work in their culture. It won't work. It won't work in the South. It won't work out West. It won't work in Canada. It won't work in Mexico.
My business is different.
And the reality is that's, first of all, it's a cop out. That's their excuse for not wanting to immerse themselves in the development of the skills, because the skills that we espouse at the Black Swan Group make people uncomfortable, and people don't like being uncomfortable. So they'll throw up straw man arguments like, oh, this won't work in India. And notwithstanding that, I've got corporate organizations and individuals in India that are using the skill within their culture and reporting back dividends. I've got people in Germany who are working for companies and in individuals who are speaking German, using the Black Swan method and are reporting back. And then here's what I didn't make clear that I want to make clear right now. The skills that we espouse for leadership and negotiation were tested and proven in the highest of stakes conversations, not in the US, all over the globe. It is not by accident that negotiators in China, Australia, North America, South America, Europe, the Middle East, Africa, the Philippines, they're all trained in the same skill set. So what does that tell you? It tells you it doesn't matter where you come from. Doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter what you do for a living. If you're dealing with someone who has a respiratory system and a brain, the skills are going to work. If they're dead, then the skills are not going to work. They're not going to impact a dead person. We have yet to negotiate with a dead person and have our skills impact that dead person. And so, likewise, I don't buy industry. It doesn't matter what you're talking about. It could be talking to your kid about completing a college application, negotiating a salary with your boss, buying a car, getting your team to adopt some level of organizational change that's coming down the pike. Doesn't matter what you're talking about. The skills work. Where people have a problem with the skills is the inherent awkwardness of them. Our skills are different than anyone else's. Our skills are tantamount to learning a new language. And your audience, for everybody in the audience that speaks a language other than their native tongue proficiently, how long did it take you to get to that level of proficiency? That's the same amount of time that it's probably going to take you to get to a level of proficiency where you're comfortable with the Black Swan method. But going back to your original point, you got up on my soapbox now, so I'm just preaching. Going back to your original point, though, it doesn't matter what industry or space you're in. Guys and women that perform the way you just described are good in the short term. They're good when there's chaos. They're good when everything seems like it's falling apart. But as I mentioned earlier, how often is that really happening? Not very often. And so their problem where they struggle is that they don't know how to turn that switch on and off. They go on and they stay on. And what you have is a slow matriculation of people out of your organization. They're going somewhere else and they're not quitting their job. They're quitting their bosses. Or worse yet, they don't quit and they retire on active duty and they stay in your organization and they do nothing. They do nothing. Why? Because what's the point? You're just going to come down and tell them exactly how you want it done anyway. So the creative thinking goes out the window, the critical thinking goes out the window, and they just hang on. Either way, you're contributing to an environment that ultimately is going to stop running. Short term, it's hard to see it, but 4, 5, 6 years down the road, when there's just a skeleton crew and nobody else is left but the toxic person and 3 other people, then you'll know.
Okay. Derek, we have this workshop speakers and leaders. It's an organization that with its leadership and speaking all over the world, Singapore, Dubai, Mexico, Peru, and in London. And what we describe is we usually I made in my workshop all the current selling. So basically we are selling an idea.
Wait. Hold on a second. Because you broke up just a little bit.
Okay.
You said
So
about own the conversation?
no, we on the cover selling.
Oh, okay, yeah, undercover
the
selling. Yeah,
cover.
Gotcha.
When you persuade an audience, when you persuade an individual to enroll you have a sign up, it falls into the persuasion, right? So if we are we have the skills set to persuade people come enroll and buy into our idea. This is key in order to organizations. It's key to build a competence. If somebody's in love with this conversation, that how people can find you, how the process works, how they can buy you. Can you tell us this?
The easiest way to find me is blackswanltd.com. That's the easiest way to for keynotes or corporate training or virtual one-to-one coaching. Of course, you've mentioned both books already, Ego, Authority, Failure, Fight Less, Win More. We are going to be, next month, I think we're going to be shooting for an entire week at the LinkedIn Learning Studios. And we're going to be putting out a video lesson plan for Fight Less, Win More. So that probably, I mean, if we're shooting it next month, they probably should have something in the can by October, November. And I won't be there on this one, but we've got, I think May 15th, we've got a one day, a professional deal makers 1-day event where we're going to immerse the participants in everything Black Swan, and as it's told to us in the past, it's like at those one-day events, it's like drinking from a fire hose. So go out and get both books, read and heed. It's not tell you that it's not.
Where can they get the books? Where can they get them? Can you show it to us? Do you have them handy?
No, I don't. I got here. That's just the cover though. But both of them are on Amazon. The Ego is Audible as well, and it's in, and so you can it's there. What was I going to say? I can't. I'm on LinkedIn. You can find it, Derek Gaunt on LinkedIn, and Derek M Gaunt on Instagram. I'm not a meta person other than the Instagram, and I don't have any of the other stuff because I'm just old. I'm an old guy. I'm stuck in my ways.
Yeah, welcome to my night. Yeah, I'm doing the podcast. I know my password for my social media. So let's go to my team.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good.
They are amazing. So Derek, I want to thank you so much. They have been a master class in leadership. I'm so grateful that you show up and you share valuable content because everyone is a leader. If you're a mom, if you're in the law enforcement, persuade everywhere in our society. And I think the biggest problem that we have in the world, in our communities, is the last message. What can we do to have more leaders? Because every single problem in the world, in my opinion, is for lack of leadership. We have so many leaders like you, some of them, everywhere in politics, in communities, in the schools, in everywhere, we won't have so much trouble we have right now. What can we do?
The easiest thing, and this goes beyond just leaders.
By the way, nobody wants to be a leader. Nobody wants.
Of course
Even
not.
in my organization, speakers and leaders, everybody wants to be speaking. Nobody wants to be a leader. We want to learn how to speak, how everybody claps.
I think it goes beyond leadership. It's a listening problem. We don't know how to shut up, and we don't know how to demonstrate for other people that we get their perspective. Not that we agree with their perspective, not that we necessarily even like that perspective, but the fact that people are now feeling like to share your perspective means to go to war with someone else. And so people aren't sharing their perspective as openly as they used to because it leads to conflict. Why does it lead to conflict? Because we all have our own ideas and agendas that we want to push forward, and we're trying to make it all about ourselves. And so shutting your mouth and listening to the other side is a step in the right direction for everybody all over the world, especially at this time. All of this nonsense that's going back and forth in theaters all over the globe, all of this, I can peel back the layer of the onion to tell you exactly what the issue is. And the issue boils down to one side not listening to the other side. One side not caring about the impact of their words or action. That's what I'm saying.
And while you stay like this, Derek, the conflict continues. You know it.
Yep.
You know, the conflict it won't be resolved until it's the natural. Exactly like you said. It doesn't matter the country, it doesn't matter the people, it doesn't matter. It's just a conflict. And I think, by definition, a conflict is when two people at the same time they think that they have been unfair with the other.
Yep. That's
what we have a conflict.
That's right.
So if we don't listen to each other,
no,
how we can get close to the unfairness, right?
We won't. And here's a great litmus test that you can do, and your listeners can do. Go on, let's say YouTube, watch a video, whatever video, and put something in the comment that does not speak well to the content of the video. Put in there some kind of feedback that doesn't match up with the content, and watch how people respond to you after you put that content up. And the people that love the content are going to start taking shots at you. And then you can watch people in the comment section go back and forth at each other for days over a comment that I made Saturday. On Tuesday, this guy is still coming at me. We're still going back and forth. Why? Because we're so starved to have someone listen to us that even when we get someone who listens to us and is calling us names and hurling invectives, it fills us because we're not getting listened to by anybody else in our life. And so this is what I meant by, if we would just close our mouth and if we would just assume that we have something to learn from the other side, many of these things go away.
Amen. Thank you so much, Derek. So no
You're
saying
certainly welcome.
Harry. He didn't say that. It's saying by Derek, just top high level, high negotiator with 3 years certification. They top of the line, right? Highly skilled. So clearly he knows what he's talking about. Yeah, know how many studies.
No, I appreciate that.
His background in medicine and stuff. So then they have been amazing. I think you're brilliant, man, and you know what you do. For real. You see, sometimes you go to conference, you see people talking. And you say, man, this guy read that in a book. This guy is for real.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
I
that.
can tell, man, that you have like I am really knowing I am my feelings. In different scenarios, quite impressed. So I would like to thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
See you in our next episode, like that.
Maybe we can get back and do it again.
So absolutely, really cheap. You know, we have a space here to
All
make
right,
the world business or make the world a better place. Thank you so much, Derek. Right now.
Follow us for more on charismatic speaking, leadership, exponential business growth, branding, marketing, strategies designed to help you monetize your knowledge, find true happiness, and manifest your goals and dreams.